Watson. I'm the head coach at the University of Georgia, and I'm here today talking to you about tournament prep. First, wanted to talk a little bit about what tournament prep is, and I think the easiest way to do that is to define the terms. One, what is a tournament? Well, a tournament is a series of contests between a number of competitors who compete for an overall prize, and debate tournaments are no different, right? You compete against other debate teams for an overall prize, namely winning that tournament. Preparation, the action or process of making ready or being made ready for use or consideration. And so tournament prep is the process of getting ready to compete against other debate teams for an overall prize, which for most people is competitive success. I got three big picture considerations that I think everyone should keep in mind when preparing for debate tournaments. One is to know the calendar, right? Know how often tournaments take place, know when they start and when they finish, right? All of those things are important from a logistical standpoint, but they're also important to help you and your students manage the calendar over the course of the year, right? If you know that October is a busy month for your students because they have PSAT or they have AP exams, they have other things going on, right? You don't want to load that month with a bunch of tournaments that they won't be able to attend, right? And looking at the calendar allows you to sort of determine when the best times for debaters to go to tournaments are, when the best times for your school to attend tournaments are, and it's good to start that process as early as possible so you can make the choices that you inevitably have to make. Secondly, I think the importance of knowing the calendar is good because it helps you strike a balance, right? It's never good for any coach to travel four weekends in a row, let alone 6, which is what some people have done, right? And it's certainly not good for your students to travel that often as well, right? They need weekends off, we need weekends off. It's a long slog, and being able to find balance between our debate life, our actual life, our academic life is important. And looking ahead and making sure the calendar fits those goals is important, I think. Lastly, knowing the calendar is important because it allows you to realize that success at tournaments is dictated what you do Monday through Friday, right? The practice speeches, the practice debates, the research that you and your students do, that almost always takes place Monday through Friday. It rarely ever takes place 20 minutes before round 3 on the weekend. And maximizing your ability to take advantage of that time, right, Monday through Friday, is the best way to ensure success on Saturday and Sunday. The teams that do the best on the weekends are usually the ones that do the best preparation during Monday through Friday, and I think that looking at the calendar and realizing that maybe Tuesdays are not good for you and your students, but Wednesdays are, and figuring out how to maximize the time you have on those Wednesdays, and maybe doing a little bit every day, either in debate class or just after school, is the best way to make sure that you have sustainable success on the weekends by using the time you have during the week to your advantage. Secondly, know when tournament takes place, right? Know that the first tournament of the year is usually in late August or early September. Know that there's at least one tournament every month from September to April, right? Knowing, right, that some tournaments will require a short drive, knowing that some tournaments will require a long drive, knowing that some tournaments will take 3 days, and some tournaments will take 1 day. Some tournaments will require flying, and some tournaments won't. Those are all important from a logistical perspective, but they're also important in terms of preparation, right? Knowing that you have a 5-hour flight from Atlanta to San Francisco means that you know that you have 5 hours, and your students have 5 hours to prep, to read files, to highlight files, to talk to each other about strategies, right? Time that they might not otherwise have if your tournament is 20 minutes away in North Fulton County. And so know the logistics of the trip, know when those tournaments take place, and realize how that implicates your ability to prep. Third, well, and also with that, know that tournaments early in the year, there's a lot more uncertainty about what teams say, and so there's a greater need and a reliance on being good at generic arguments, and then realizing that over the course of the year you have more idea of what teams say, and knowing that it's a little bit easier to prepare in those situations is a good way to manage the calendar, to manage when tournaments take place, right? Earlier in the year there's a lot of uncertainty, right, and you gotta rely on your generics. Later in the year, teams tend to read the same things, and so you can refine your strategies, do specific upgrades to make sure your strategies have more impact. Third, know who is attending the tournament, right? Are 100 teams attending the tournament, or are 20 teams attending the tournament? That obviously impacts preparation. It's a lot easier to prepare for 20 teams than it is 100 teams, right? Are the best teams in the country attending this tournament, or is it mostly local teams that don't have the resources? That obviously impacts your ability to prep and how much time you have to spend, right? Are teams attending the tournament that normally bring good judges, or are teams attending the tournament that don't have any judging, right? Knowing who your judging is, who it's going to be at a tournament also helps in terms of your preparation, right? If you go to a tournament that's basically populated by people that like policy debate and really despise the critique, it doesn't make sense to prepare a bunch of negative strategies that revolve around the critique. Likewise, if you go to a tournament that has mostly critique-friendly judging, it doesn't really make sense to have an affirmative that's super straight-up policy if your judges aren't going to be amenable to that. And so knowing who attends your tournament also is important in the preparation process. Here are some smaller tips or little picture tips I like to think that help. One is to encourage yourself and your students to have goals, right? Setting goals is important, right? Whether they want to win one debate or have a good time or win the tournament, each of those goals helps you prepare, right? Because you can devise strategies to achieve each one of those goals. And I think that setting goals is super important, and they should be shared, right? Your students should share their goals with you, and as a coach, you should share your goals with them. But everybody should have a goal. You should share those goals so that everybody involved is on the same page, and so that you can devise strategies to help implement those goals. And I think it's important to have both short and long-term goals, right? You might have a short-term goal of winning more debates at the next tournament that you did the prior one. You may have a longer-term goal of winning the Tournament of Champions, or whatever they might be. But I think having short and long-term goals is also important, and it's important to kind of keep those goals tangible and achievable, and to realize that it's a long slog, and that short-term goals can be achieved, but that doesn't mean that the long-term goals can be achieved in the same time frame, and that there might be some struggles along the way, but as long as you're committed to those long-term goals and you've got a plan of action to achieve them, you're going to be more likely to get there, right? Some failures are inevitable, not all goals are achieved, but the achievement of some goals is necessary to keep your interest in an activity sustainable, right? And you got to realize that failure doesn't mean that you aren't good at something. It just means you need to work harder at being better at something. And I think most kids understand that, and most coaches understand that. And if everybody's on the same page and failure is not something to be avoided, but rather failure is inevitable and something that can be used as a learning tool or a starting point for improvement, I think everybody will achieve success and see improvement over the long term. I think you want to do little things like create hit lists. Sort of a list of teams that you know you're going to debate, either the number of teams at the tournament, if it's a small tournament like 15 or 20 teams, or maybe a list of 20 teams that you feel comfortable that you're going to hit. Maybe you debate the same teams, right? The number of teams that have around the same record as you at the prior tournament. It usually gives you a good indication of the teams that you're going to be debating, the teams that you need to beat in order to sort of to improve, to have a better record the next time. And so I think a hit list is important. After creating a hit list, I think creating assignment lists is important, right? Knowing that there are certain positions you have to update for every tournament, like the elections have said, right? Knowing that you might have to upgrade your 2AC blocks based off of what teams have said on the negative, right? Knowing that you might have to create a new case negative, right? A new set of arguments against an affirmative that you hadn't heard before. All those things are important. And the earlier you create that assignment list, the better, right? And the more participation you can have in that assignment list, the more people that are contributing to it, the easier it is to complete that assignment list, the easier it is to complete that assignment list in a timely manner. And you want to make sure that assignment list is due at least a couple of days before the tournament you attend, because you want to have enough time to read through the work that people have done, to make sure you have time to adequately internalize and learn the resources that your teammates and yourselves have produced, so you can put that into practice, right? You should talk to people at tournaments. Coaches should talk to people to sort of see what other teams are reading, right? To see what other tournaments other coaches are attending, right? And to generally just sort of not let the situation overtake you, to not let the competitive spirit get in the way of the sort of human connection that is the debate community that I think everybody should value. I think your students should talk to people. They should talk to their partner, obviously, because they need a partner to succeed in debate. They should talk to their teammates, right? They should make sure that they're doing well, to encourage them to do well so that your teammates support them as well. But also talk to their teammates to make sure that you know what other teams are saying, right? Most of the time we have multiple teams that attend the same tournament. And it's important to know that your teammates debated a team round 1, that you're about to debate round 4, so that you have the accurate intelligence that you need to respond and to put into practice and prepare effectively so you can maximize your chances of debating well. I think you should talk to your competitors. You should treat them with respect. You should realize that they like the game of debate as much as you do, right? You shouldn't solely view them as an enemy, right? Yeah, they might be your competitor for 2 hours, but after that, they should be your friend. They should be someone you respect. They should be someone you can rely upon. Because if we're all only in it for wins and losses, if we're all only in it to defeat our opponents, it's not a really productive and it's not a really healthy way to approach the game of debate. It's a fun game and it's a competitive game, but people are involved, and the people in the game are really exciting and really cool, and we should do our best to respect them and try to be as cordial as possible. Lastly, I think the small things really do matter for you and your debaters, right? You should make sure that the supplies that you need are there, right? You should have flow paper, you should have pens, you should have power cords, maybe even power strips, and they should have timers, right? Those are the little things that are absolutely necessary for debaters to debate, right? You gotta have pens to write stuff down, you gotta have flow paper to write arguments down, you gotta have power cords to make sure your laptops are charged, you gotta have power strips to make sure that all your debaters have access to a source of power, and you need timers, right? We have speech times, right? And we need to make sure that our debaters can keep track of their prep time, that they can keep track of their speech time, so they don't make mistakes by taking their speech time or their prep time for granted. I would encourage you to think about recording speeches, either video or audio. right? Recording speeches allows you to have evidence of what that debate involved, right? To view it again later on, to maybe provide feedback if you're a coach and you weren't there in the debate to watch it, right? Or for your debaters to give feedback to themselves, to be self-critical, to analyze the situation, to hear themselves debating, and to notice things they're doing well and to notice things they're not doing well. And I'd encourage coaches and debaters to do that more often. I think it's really helpful. It's a prevalent enterprise in college debate, and I think it's really helped debaters get better and to see the mistakes they're making and to see the good things that they're doing and to do more of the good and do less of the bad. Right? You gotta remember to sleep and eat. I think I'm a big fan of encouraging your students to do this, and if you're a debater, I would encourage you to do this too. Like, debate tournaments are long, like they're exhausting, and you gotta eat and you gotta sleep, and as much as you gotta prepare, you don't wanna prepare at the expense of your mental and physical health. You gotta stay healthy, bring some snacks, eat breakfast, wake up, sleep, take a shower, do the little things, right? It'll help you survive the one-day tournament, it'll help you survive the three-day tournament. Debate's fun, but it can be exhausting, and you gotta take care of yourself in order to survive and to do well. Lastly, don't let the situation overwhelm you. Like, we have a tendency to sort of get up in the competitive moment, to take every loss more seriously than we should, and to take every win more seriously than we should, right? We're here to debate, and we're here to have fun, and we're here to learn. And yeah, an ancillary benefit to that should be to win more debates, but not everybody does debate to win. Some people debate because they like the people, and some people debate because they like the fun of the game, and some people like to debate because they like the research that's involved. And you gotta make sure that the competitive situation of debate, right, or the stakes that might be at play don't overwhelm you, right? You still have a teammate, you still have a partner, you still have a coach, and you still have competitors. And if you can treat them with respect and to enjoy the moment rather than letting the moment overwhelm you, you'll have more success in debate, and you'll have a better time in debate. And who doesn't want to do something where they enjoy success and they have a good time? Thank you again. I hope that helps you prepare for future tournaments, and I look forward to seeing you compete in the future.